Let's see, to set the stage, maybe I'll ask the panelists to provide an overview of the current employment and labor landscape in your respective jurisdictions and any recent developments. And I'll shake up the order a little bit. Dr. Morris-Hughes, I'll start with you.
You know, the district, especially this year, has really benefited from a very healthy labor market. Our unemployment rate post pandemic is at historic lows, especially in some of the more challenging parts of the city. We still, just like every other jurisdiction, are trying to build a talent pipeline for the high demand occupations that we see in the city, which continue to be information technology, hospitality and tourism, which is a very large industry here in the district, and management and some professional services. Some of the challenges that we're having right now is related to, the post-pandemic return to work. We're still not seeing occupancy rates downtown return back to what they were pre-pandemic. And we know that the world of work has forever changed since the pandemic. We know that there are still, companies that are deciding to, remain virtual, but our workforce landscape has really been shaped and is being impacted by these trends post-pandemic and folks not returning back to work. And it's a really interesting, discussion on both sides of the debate. I think there's some merit and valid points, but I will tell you, it is really, really shaping our workforce and not just the economy in the District of Columbia, but I think the regional economy as well.
Yep. Thank you. Secretary Slater?
Well, let's see. The current unemployment rate in the Commonwealth is about 2.5%. That's also near a historic low. Our labor participation rate is up to 66.7%. That's the highest it's been since mid-2012. We actually have more people working in Virginia than ever, between 4.5 and 4.6 million. We've had job growth for 16 of the last 19 months, and we've added over 225,000 jobs since Governor Youngkin took office in January of 2022. That's the good news. The bad news is we still have about 245,000 open jobs in Virginia right now, and close to 120,000 of those are open IT type jobs in Northern Virginia alone. And really, for most of my life, we had an employment situation where we basically had 5 people for every 2 open jobs. We now pretty much have 2 people for every 5 open jobs. Some of the recent developments that have gone on is this year we actually were able to pass legislation that establishes the new state workforce agency, which really empowers that agency to drive and direct workforce programs across state government, no matter where they sit. And the agency is going to be setting baselines and metrics for every workforce program in the executive branch, so we can actually start seeing what is working and what isn't, so we can look at scaling up what is working and see if we can either fix what isn't working or move the funding to programs that are. We also passed universal licensing recognition for 85 different regulated professions that will enable professionals from other states with significantly similar requirements and credentials to bypass the additional education and exam process and get licensed. And, like Maryland, I believe, and I'm not sure if the district did this, but we did away with degree requirements and preferences for 90% of our state civil service jobs.
Thank you.
Sure.
Secretary Wu?
Yes, so like my our sister jurisdictions here, we have record low unemployment. I want to say Maryland has been, if not the lowest in the country, one of the lowest 3. Our last monthly rate, and we're going to have a new one coming out shortly, has been 1.7% unemployment. That's a little different, though. I do want to qualify that by saying Maryland's labor force participation rate has not rebounded quite as quickly or as much as the other states on this call. And I was a district resident for about 20 years, so I'm going to definitely refer to DC as a sister state. But we're hovering at about 65.3%, so not quite as strong as Virginia. And a place where we have seen some of those gaps is among younger workers and among women. Now, part of the younger worker phenomenon, of course, is Maryland has very high college enrollment rates. So we understand, and of course, it's a plus to have individuals getting training and education. So that's, we're proud of that and want to support that. But we do think, continuing to support women in terms of how they can return to work post-pandemic, we haven't seen as much of that as we'd like. Fortunately, Maryland will be bringing online a paid family and medical leave program. We've just started the first steps. That is a new law in the state, or relatively new. We've just published our contribution rates for employers. So that's something we want employers to be aware of. And we've seen with the historic studies and what other states have had is that actually those programs have really helped enable women to remain more attached to the workforce, which is what we really want to see, especially given the demographic trends in our state and across the country. Is keeping people attached to the workforce is really important. Just one final thing I'll note is Maryland also accelerated its minimum wage increase to $15 an hour. That was already on the books, but we sort of accelerated the timeline for that to be 2024.